Yo, what is up guys, Grim here, and in today's video we're going to be taking a bit of a look at some of the stronger teams people are using in the very end game to clear out the hardest content currently in Star Rail, and that is Memory of Chaos. Now, Memory of Chaos is a mode which you unlock after you complete all 15 stages of the Forgotten Hall. Now, Memory of Chaos is really hard. So Forgotten Hall is level 65, and that's pretty tough, man. It's got Japan and Kokolia there at the end, and Memory of Chaos only scales it up even further. It starts out at 68, and the floor that I'm up to goes up already to 73, and my units are only level 58. So that's a pretty big level differential there. It's like 15 levels higher than me, and everything there is hitting like a truck. So I wanted to give you guys a bit of a lowdown though on what people are using for their teams, because you actually need two teams, and if it gives you guys a bit of a heads up on what units you might be interested in kind of researching and maybe building in the future, potentially, you know, give you guys a bit more info on what the endgame is currently looking like. So after you finish the story and after you complete all the simulated universe worlds that you want to do, this is kind of where you're going to end up next. Your new mission is going to be completing all 10 of the Memory of Chaos floors. And after you do that, you're going to want to 3-star them all because it gives you stellar jades as the rewards, as well as a ton of credits, which you're going to need a lot of. And you can, kind of get these rewards every 2 weeks. So it's definitely something you're going to want to work towards eventually. And kind of understanding and deciding, what do I want my two teams to be, is definitely something you guys should have at least on your mind. And the aim of this video is to give you guys some ideas of what some of the top players are doing right now to clear out Memory of Chaos. Now, a quick disclaimer, all of the characters we're about to talk about are certainly powerful, but if you're seeing one or two missing that you've leveled up or that you find really enjoyable, that doesn't mean they're not viable. They absolutely could be, and they could be the best, in fact. It's just that we don't have a whole lot of data yet, and not too many people have even attempted this endgame. So while this video is probably going to be helpful and give you guys some good ideas, it's not a definitive list, it's not a tier list, and it's not the rock solid meta endgame or anything along those lines. There's characters on here which I'm sure are going to be incredibly powerful who just haven't seen a team made for them yet, or even just the people who have done it yet don't have them on their account. So with all that said though, let's move into it. So far, the highest Memory of Chaos floor that I've seen cleared in my Discord server by the people who are smashing it is actually Memory of Chaos 5. So they're halfway through. To give you guys a bit of context, floor 10 here has monsters which are level 90. So I'm pretty sure that's just straight up impossible for everybody in the game right now. I don't think you can do that with like level 58 units. But people are clearing out level 5. So that's definitely pretty impressive. I'm keen to get there myself eventually, but it's definitely pretty damn hard. The amount of damage that everything does is like pretty ridiculous. So what teams were they using though, and what kind of unit compositions are there? And I wonder if there's any units which are a theme among all of the different teams that people are running. Well, let's take a look. So there is actually some channels in my Discord server dedicated to Memory of Chaos, and you can see all the teams people are having success with over there if you want to decide to join. But these images are basically lifted straight out of those channels, and big shout outs to the people who posted them there so that we can all learn from them. So this first team here is actually my team for Memory of Chaos Stage 1. Definitely not anything impressive, but I figured I'd go through it anyway. So my team 1 here consisted of Hook and Serval, and then 2 shielders, March and Trailblazer Fire. Now, this team's ideal kind of like composition would have a healer in it instead of 2 shielders, but I don't have a second healer because I don't have Bailu, so it is what it is. I had to use 2 shielders here. So we've got Hook and we have Serval as our damage dealers. Now, Hook and Serval aren't the most insane damage dealers. They're not going to be topping any damage charts, but when the enemy is vulnerable to their element, so either lightning or fire, they actually do pretty good damage output, and that's the reason that they're there. Now, I do actually have another DPS on my roster, Su Shang, who does come in when there's physical and I need to deal with physical, and Serval or Hook will be cycled out for those fights. Ideally though, I think this team is probably going to change a bit moving to the future, but it is definitely working pretty good for now. Now, for my sustain though, which is a big deal in Memory of Chaos, you absolutely need crazy sustain, at least in these early days. I have March 7th here, as well as Trailblazer Fire. Now, Trailblazer Fire is pretty much one of, if not the best unit to have as a free-to-play player in Memory of Chaos. The amount of utility, the toolbox they provide is absolutely staggering. But overall, the shields that you get from a well-geared Trailblazer Fire is ludicrous. And also the fact that you can put a taunting light cone on them will mitigate so much damage. And then on top of that, you can also do a hard taunt if you need to. And then they also are a firebreaker expert on top of that. Geez. March is also not to be underestimated. I think March is one of the best units, especially as free-to-play, especially if you don't have a second healer. You basically have to build her. She can amplify the taunting value of another unit, which in this case can further double down on Trailblazer Fire, taking all the damage. In addition to that, she also breaks a ton of ice and will freeze all the enemies, giving you even more damage mitigation. So this combo, at least for me, has been working out stellar, and I think you'll see quite frequently these two units pop up in a lot of teams, which we're going to be going through today. And then the other team here is a hyper carry composition with Sele. You're going to see this pretty much in every single team composition on the sets here. There's always going to be a Sele team, and there's always going to be a hyper carry comp pretty much exclusively. She is just that good. Everyone is running her as a solo DPS with some sort of damaging support, and in some cases not even a damaging support. And honestly, using her in Memory of Chaos, which is the ultra endgame, she doesn't even care about vulnerabilities. The only thing she needs to make sure is that the enemy isn't resistant to quantum, and then other than that, because of the 20% quantum penetration, she just solos the entire floor herself. It's pretty crazy there, and anything you can do to support her in that fact is obviously going to be really, really good. Now, the thing that makes Sele so good actually though is that she is a hunt character. Now, if we take a look at the Memory of Chaos, it actually has a seasonal affix, right? And that affix is basically a bonus power that you're going to get on all of your runs. So the first season kind of bonus is the Favor of Amber, and it states the following: at the beginning of each cycle, randomly causes an ally following the path of the hunt or path of erudition to take action immediately and increases their damage dealt by 50% for 1 turn. All right, so essentially what this means is that every single cycle, so you can see here the cycles are mentioned quite a lot, you will get a bonus action on one of your erudition or hunt characters. So what this is essentially going to ask you to do is always have either an erudition or a hunt character on both of your teams. So you're going to want either an erudition or hunt on team 1 and team 2, because every single cycle it's going to go bang, you're going to get a big pulse, and then one of your units is going to get to move again for free. So that's a massive deal, and it just makes Sele even better, and it makes it so that she really truly can solo that side all by herself, which is very, very powerful indeed. Now, that's a big reason again why I'm bringing Serval, because she is erudition, and if I didn't have an erudition character or another hunt character, I'd be missing out on that bonus action there, which definitely isn't something you want to do. So you're at least going to have one erudition and one hunt on both sides there. So I'd recommend, you know, kind of building your roster around that. We're likely going to have this Memory of Chaos at least for another 5 weeks until after Genie 1's banner has ended. So that's kind of what we're looking at there. So it's definitely worth investing into a couple erudition and hunt characters just purely for this purpose. All right, so my second team here obviously does have a healer as well as 2 supports to make Sele shine. So that was my kind of composition there. Let's see if that kind of remains to be true though on the following teams here. So this is another player's teams here, and you can see that they've actually invested pretty heavily in only 2 damaging characters. So I was using 3, this person is using 2. I believe this is the Discord member Jodox here. So he has got a team of Hook here, which has got 2 hyper carry supports here. So he's hyper carrying Hook. So he's got Tignon as well as Asta, and then a healer, making Hook basically a massive monster. He's ignoring the Favor of Amber. He doesn't care, and he got 3 stars on this as well. So it's clear to him that Hook is a massive damage dealer here. So he's boosting up Hook with Tignon. He's boosting her up with Asta, because Asta actually provides not only speed, not only increased damage, but also a fire damage bonus as well. So they are hyper carrying Hook here and really trying to juice them up as much as possible. And then we've got the aforementioned here, our hyper carry Sele team. You can see there that Sele is doing all the work herself, and again she is being paired with Bronya here. You can see that this is similar, and again Natasha is finding her home here as well. And then we also have Fire MC. I'm pretty sure Fire MC is on every single one of these teams. They are just one of those units which is just so broken. All right, next up we have another Memory of Amber here. I believe this is Rek from my Discord server. Big shout outs to him, and he is using a whole lot of different units here, but we can pick out a few immediately. We can see the Sele and Bronya combo here with a healer, but he has got another support here, which is Welt, another big damage amplifier, but also with a bit of defense in there as well. And then this other team here, he's got a hyper carry Clara team here, using the incredibly potent combo of March and Clara, and then buffing up Clara to give her even more opportunities to use those ultimates, as well as trigger all the blessing procs on her counterattacks here with Tignon, which is pretty damn cool. Big fan of these teams here as well. I think we are now on to the Memory Chaos Floor 2, and again we've got a pretty similar team here. I believe this is actually my teams as well. Again, we've got the Bronya Sele hyper carry comp, as well as a a shielder and double DPS comp here. What else we got here? Okay, we got a new composition here, which is looking pretty good. I believe this is Rek again. So now we've got, instead of a hyper carry comp around Clara, we've got a hyper carry comp around Sampo, which is pretty interesting there. I haven't seen Sampo actually make his appearance here. Pretty interesting though to see him. And then on the bottom here, we've got a massive hyper carry stack on Sele. You can see here over all the teams so far, Sele hyper carry composition has been present on every single one of them. them. So that should be pretty telling, guys. I think it's pretty safe to level up your damage dealing supports as well as your Sele. And I also think it's pretty much like locked in that you can level up your healers, both of them, because they do seem to be pretty much being used whenever the person has them, they are using them. Welt also seems to be making quite an appearance here in a lot of these teams. All right, we've got another team here, which is, I believe we're in phase 3 now here, which is, I think this is Rek again with his hypercarry compositions for his Sampo and for his Sele, which is pretty cool. Getting through phase 3 there. Then we have, I believe this is actually a user on my Discord server called Evo. So we've got a new set of compositions here. This person is using Clara, so we see Clara return again, of course, accompanied by March. It seems like this combo is pretty much a bit of a staple at this point. And then we've also got Sushang here. I think Sushang is a really excellent 4-star to bring along, as well as Pella is coming and seeing an appearance here as well. I actually think Pella is one of the best units as well. I think that she's got a lot of potential and I have her leveled as well. Very, very strong character and someone I'm pretty happy to have on my roster. But again, we've got an entirely new player here and they are of course using Sele as well. They are combining her with Serval though. So we've got a double damage dealing comp here. So this is the first time we've seen Sele paired with another character here, which is pretty interesting. I'm wondering if that's because this player doesn't have Tin Yun or they don't have Bronya, but this definitely seems to have worked for them. They've cleared out Memory of Chaos 3 nice and early, so pretty good to see. But we're seeing that Clara composition coming up again and again, and I'm pretty sure Fire MC has been present in pretty much every single team here except one, so that's pretty crazy that they are that powerful. All right, I've got another composition here. This is on to 4. This is getting seriously hard at this point, guys, for the point that we're at. So every team that you see here is going to be pretty impressive. So we've got another hyper carry Sele comp here, and we've also got a pretty cool, I think this is Rek again. He's got his Sampo team. You can see here he's added in a bit more defense though with March, so that is definitely going to be pretty damn nice there. Overall, pretty damn cool indeed. Now we're getting all the way on to 5. I believe the enemies are close to level 80 at this point, and people are using 57 units. So this is seriously tough. We can see that this is actually Jodox pulling out all the stops with his hyper carry Hook team and hyper carry Sele team. So it's clear that this kind of a team is definitely pretty strong. Getting 1 DPS and taking them to the stratosphere definitely does seem to be one of the more successful strategies. And then the final team we have here is going to be from Rek once again, and this is his again. The 2 teams which have gotten the furthest here, they're actually only running 1 DPS. So Rek is using his carries of Sampo and Sele, and Jodox is using his carries of Sele as well as Hook. And both of those teams, both of those compositions who have gotten the furthest and gotten the deepest into Memory of Chaos are just juicing up 1 damage character. Now, when we analyze all of this, it's pretty clear to see that the Fire MC is the most used unit over the entire thing, as well as Sele. It's like Fire MC, Sele, Bronya, those are the most used units, and on the most competitive teams, both of them use Ting Yun as well, and both of them use double healer. So you can kind of take a lot from that. Like double healer is probably going to be the way to go. You can see, and then Fire MC on top of that, and then obviously buffers and debuffers. You can get any sort of debuffer and buffer, it's going to be good. And then 1 or 2 DPS, aside is probably going to be the way to go. So overall, with a bit of a breakdown there, hopefully that has given you guys a bit of an interesting idea about how the teams are being constructed right now. If I had to guess, the units I'd absolutely be naming as ones that you can safely fully max out and level up on your account are pretty much any sort of powerhouse DPS. So it seems like people are really liking Clara and Sele first and foremost, and Hook seems to be pretty decent as well. Those 3 are probably reasonably safe at least. We don't have any other fire characters coming out anytime soon, so those do seem pretty safe. Any sort of offensive support, whether that be Welt, Bronya, Tin Yun, Pella, those kind of things, and then pretty much any sort of defensive support, whether it's Fire MC, March 7th, or Japad, and then any of the healers, which is Natasha or Bilo. Those all seem to be incredibly safe in terms of what you can do. Now, I believe that the damaging character that you pick, it could be anything, right? Like we saw that Rek was using Sampo, which I'm honestly quite flabbergasted by. I didn't think that Sampo would be that good, but it is what it is. You can't really argue with results. These players are killing the hardest content in the game, and then getting a lot of success out of it. So I'm pretty curious to see how everything ends up going, what teams end up being the best for 3-starring stuff. But you will notice that a lot of these teams actually have a pretty good amount of free-to-play units in them. Like Ting Yun is accessible as free-to-play, especially if you pull on Jing. Natasha is just a free unit. Sampo's easy to get. Fire MC is easy to get. Hook is pretty easy to get. Asta is free. You know, the endgame teams that are currently being used for the literal cutting edge content have a lot of free-to-play units in them. The only unit which I'd say seems to come up a lot, pretty much in every single team, is Bronya, and she is obviously a 5-star, as well as Sele does seem to be a pretty defining unit. But past that, it does seem pretty variable. You can make use of a lot of different characters. Of course, having Bailu seems to be pretty much a requirement for getting high right now if you're not a suitable level. But I imagine once we get all to a suitable level, Bailu won't be as necessary. And I imagine if you also had Japad, he would also work pretty suitably as well. So overall, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video and it's giving you guys some context into the endgame and what characters you might be interested in leveling up, and a little bit of brain food for you guys while you're getting through those earlier levels about what might be coming down the pipe. I found this very interesting to see and learn from, and I hope you guys did too. And if you did find it interesting and a little bit stimulating, definitely subscribe to the channel. Plenty more Honkai Star Rail content on the way, and like the video if you particularly liked it. Until next time, hopefully you guys have enjoyed. Cheers.